Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. Today we're going to be talking about my completed coloring pages for August 2024. But first, I'm going to show you a couple of stats. I don't keep very many, but I'm going to show them to you anyway. My YouTube channel is still growing. Thanks so much, guys. This is so awesome. I did probably set an unrealistic goal of 100 new subscribers a month. I did not make that, but I am so thankful for the almost 60 I did get. It started August with 389. I am a few days early. I'm filming this on like the 29th, so there are a few more days, but there's no way I'm going to make more than maybe one or two more. But I ended up the end of the month with 446, which gave me my plus 57. So that is really fantastic. I can't believe I'm already almost close to 500. So anybody that's out there that wants to get me to 500 that hasn't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. But anyway, I appreciate whatever you can do, honestly. I really do. But I'm kind of joking, but yeah. And then on Instagram, I hit the 800 mark, which I'm really excited about too. I don't know why, but I went from 773 to 808. So I went up an additional 35 subscribers. Completed pages, I did 10. So right about my average, which is kind of 10 to 12. Like as I said, some of my pages were complicated. Some didn't work out the way I had planned, so some delay. But I did work in 4 untouched books. They are Mythographic Wild Summer, the Angela Harding book, a book that I had for a very long time, but with the help of a new coloring friend, Renee, she and I got my first page done in Coloring with Your Octopus. And then I have a Colorful Time. I didn't translate the book, but that's what it says on the front cover. There's more writing, so it might say additional things, but I'm just calling it Colorful Time. I completed quite a few hashtags, 2, 4, 6, 8 hashtags, but some of them I have multiples in. So I did really well with my hashtags this month. I had 2 fantastic buddy colors this month. Thank you both. Emma and I decided to move this Angela Harding book to September. We were unable to complete it, our pages, so we're just moving it to September. But I really have enjoyed talking with her and Renee as well. Renee and I talked a lot, actually, so I think she realizes that I'm really chatty. But thanks, Renee. But anyway, so those are my stats. There's nothing else that I'm tracking at this time, so I'm just going to jump right into the pages that I completed. In full disclosure, I can't remember anything, so I have a book on the side that I'm going to be referring to that will remind me about, who I was working with, what I worked with, and what hashtags. So I'm awful at remembering anything, so I'm going to be using that book on the side, but you probably pretty much won't see it. But the first one, I'm not going to show you the image because I'll show you at the end of September. But I did work in the Angela Harding book. This is a new book for me. And it is the first page that I'm coloring. So Angela Harding coloring book. Wait and see in September. And now I'll just start with smallest book first. And that is Enchanted Faces by Hannah Lynn. And I have the wrong page marked. That's not this month's. This is this month's. I really like the way she came out. She's the Cali girl, and she doesn't look very Cali girl with, usually you think of someone with light hair, but she's Cali girl to me. So I did this for the hashtag dark hair and freckles. Sorry, it's Jamie's Coloring Love. So that is dark hair and freckles on face by hosted by Jamie's Coloring Love. So I did the gray and black hair, which I really, really, really love. I think it came out so pretty. I did base everything in alcohol marker, well, not her dress, but 90% of it in alcohol marker, and then I went over it with my polychromos pencils. I did use the Ohuhu alcohol markers. I used some Prismacolor as well, but mostly for the hair, it was the polychromos pencils. The skin, I used the Prismacolors, especially the blush on her face and the lips, actually. And I used Jelly Roll Glaze on her eye makeup. And then I used the Jelly Roll Moonlight just to dot in some freckles. They looked really weird without a nose, and then I tried to put like an indication of a nose. You can still kind of see it a little bit, these two little C's there. But yeah, I just decided to try to erase that because it didn't look normal either. So she's got freckles with no nose. And that is all I used on her. So that's Cali Girl from Enchanted Faces by Hannah Lynn. I'll bring you out a little. This is Coloring with Your Octopus by Brian Kessinger. This was a buddy color with Renee Urbans on Instagram. I do not think she has a YouTube channel. I didn't check, I should have, but I know her from Instagram. And we did my first page in this book, which started off as a disaster and turned out okay. It was the background I had a lot of trouble with. Actually, I had a lot of trouble with everything. I liked my grass. I liked the blotchiness of the watercolor here. I used various watercolors. I think these might be Daniel Smith. I think these are all Daniel Smith, with the exception of her dress, which is Lumiere Glitter Acrylic. I think you can see how shiny her dress is. I really like the paints, but they're very opaque, so you don't see anything underneath it. So I didn't shade. I didn't bother with the dress part, but I shaded everything else. I think I used it on the sleeves as well, the gold there. But the rest is all watercolor. I used, I did use this for the first time ever, this golden satin glazing liquid. Renee recommended it. She said it preps the page so that you could use a lot of watercolor on it without doing a lot of damage to the paper. And it did work. And it didn't give me that sandpapery feeling that I had when I used the Daniel Smith watercolor ground. I did not like the feeling of that. Someone later told me that I can take some sandpaper to the stuff. I will try that another time, but I really liked this. I did a very, very, very thin layer, and I used like one of those foam makeup brushes, you know, the ones that, you know, kind of are pretty much disposable. But I like the stuff. It did a good job, and I don't really have any wrinkling on this paper. A little bit, you know, here and there. But parts of it, I used a lot of water on, especially this guy, because I used a color that has like a color separation in it, and then that didn't kind of work out, and then I had to go in with a lot of pencils on top. I used a combination of my Prismacolors and my Polychromos. And I don't know which one. I think I did mostly Prismacolors. I think I tried to fix the octopus with Polychromos first, then I wasn't really getting the density I wanted, so then I went over it a little bit more with some more watercolor and then some Prismacolor on top of that. I think I got him in a good spot, but considering what a disaster he was in the beginning, he really is excellent. I mean, it really was a disaster. And then I used Tim Holtz, the Distress ink in the background. I used a white Prismacolor to create the cloud formations in the back. because it really was just too much of a flat color. I didn't feel confident going in and doing the water trick, like dropping the water droplets on it and then, you know, having the color separate. Didn't work out that well last time I did it, but I think this worked out pretty well. You know, it breaks up the sky a little bit, so it's not too big sky. And what else did I use? I think that was it. Yeah. Oh, Spectrum Noir Sparkle. I put that, I think, on her bustle. I think you call it a bustle. So I don't know if you can kind of see it there. It really fell flat considering how glittery and shiny the dress was. So I ended up adding the clear sparkle from Spectrum Noir on top of the bustle, on top of the pencil. So that is Coloring with Your Octopus by Brian Kessinger. Next up, I have another Hannah Lynn page. This is a full book, not one of the pocket size editions. This is Steampunk Darlings, and I did this page. And this I did for the hashtag Rainbow Hair for Nirma. And I like it. I didn't care for the hair at first, but it's really grown on me. And I didn't like it because I didn't get any good transitions from one color to another. It just felt like it started getting more and more grainy rather than really blending. I could have used a blending solution or, you know, a blending pen, you know, like an alcohol ink, but I didn't bother. And then it just started to grow on me a lot, and I really, really like it now. On this page, I used my Ohuhu alcohol markers on the majority of the page. And then I used my Polychromos pencils. That didn't work well over the marker on this paper for some reason. So then I had to switch to my Prismacolor pencils. That still felt a little grainy, so I don't know what went wrong on here, whether, you know, alcohol ink first is not a good idea for this book, but I'm pretty positive I've done this in the past and it's always worked. So I'm not really too sure. Maybe I was just too heavy-handed right up front, which kind of happens to me, and then it adds to this whole graininess effect. But otherwise, I like the page. I did use some gel pens. I used the Jelly Roll Glaze on things like these portholes. I used a metallic around the clouds, and gold Signo on the belt buckle. But otherwise, everything else is pencil work. And I really like the way my balloon kind of came out. It looks like wood, which would not float, I guess. I don't know, in this kind of thing. But I didn't know what color to make it. I just felt like doing a natural color. So that is my page from Steampunk Darlings by Hannah Lynn. Up next, I have the Group Buddy color in Spooky by Sarah Seswick. I don't know why I have two tabs here. There we go. And this is the page we did for the month of August. And I really, really like it. I like the way the sky came out. And even the clouds. I mean, I just like the page, I think. I used my Prismacolor pencils on watercolor mostly. Like, I don't think there's no alcohol ink on here. Yeah, you could kind of see there where I used the watercolor because it came out on the other side. So I did base a lot of the sky in watercolor, and then I went over it with a lot of pencil. It came out really blotchy, but I'm still okay with it. I think it came out really well, and I am getting a little bit better at doing this kind of light source around a star of some kind. Still not good, but I'm definitely getting better. I used acrylic paint markers to lighten some of the lines. Not all of them. I didn't do all of the black lines, but I did do some. I used gel pen on, I don't know where the gel pen is. It says I used gel pen. Oh, I used it for a thin line around the moon I drew in. And then I used some washi tape to do the band on their hats. And I really like this one. This one has a paw print on it, a pink paw print. So I really like that. And I think that is all I did. This page counted for 3 hashtags. There's I think it's Witch Cat Spooky by Christina's Art Corner. Then there's a Spooky Japan Cats and Hocus Pocus Coloring. So those were 3 hashtags that I used for the one image. So that is from Spooky Group Buddy Color, hosted by Christina's Art Corner by Sarah Seswick. Up next is Garden Lady by Lana Green. And I am in love with this one. She came out so pretty, guys. I mean, she's really, really sweet. I absolutely love this. Now, of course, I did follow this page, which is Lana's rendition of her image. I did make her darker. I got a darker brown on her skin tone, but everything else is pretty close. Maybe I'm a little pinker in the leaves and in this flower, but otherwise, I think I did a really good job on this page. It took me a lot of days and a lot of patience. I used only polychromos pencils here. I didn't use anything else on this page, including this little strip. I think is still pencil. Yeah, it looks like pencil. It doesn't look like I used like a chalk pastel or anything. Yeah, it just says polychromos, so I'm going to believe what I wrote down. So that is what I find my favorite page is of August 2024, is from Garden Lady by Lana Green. Next up is Mythographic Wild Summer by Joseph Katambang. And this was a buddy color. I did 3 buddy colors this month. I forgot to write her down. This is Veronica from Instagram, and we did this buddy color. Again, I still haven't figured out how to put the inset of someone else's coloring, so I cannot do that. I keep promising every month that I'm going to learn how to do it, and I haven't. So if I figure out how to do this before when I'm editing, I will insert it, but I doubt it. So fingers crossed, I learn it in September. But I like the way this page came out as well. I wanted to do this all in natural colors, but frame it with really bright, bright color. And I think I achieved it. I used my Albert Dürer watercolor pencils, both activated and dry. And then I used polychromos pencils to do my shading, and alcohol marker just for the gray part of the sky. Oh, like little bits here and there, like these centers of the flowers. But for the most part, I really did not use a lot of alcohol markers on this page. I really enjoyed using my Albert Dürer on this paper. I think it came out really pretty. The vibrancy is there. I just really enjoyed working with it. And then I used, as I mentioned, I also used the pencils dry. So that is Mythographic Wild Summer by Joseph Katambang. Okay, next up, I have Menuet de Bonheur, I think is close to how this is pronounced. And I think this is Koko Ausa. And I did this artist page. And for the most part, I like the way it came out. But the stained glass looked a lot better in my head than it does in real life. on camera, it doesn't look that bad, but in real life, it just doesn't have like any vibrancy at all. I don't know what happened, but it all looks really rather muted. And I did use watercolor first and then try to go over it with pencil, and that definitely did not work. I really, really like the way my bricks turned out. That I used only watercolor on, and in between the bricks, I used the Jelly Roll Glaze pen in the gray. And I also used it here, but I don't know if my pen is running out or it just didn't really work that well over the pencil and the watercolor. So it didn't come out great there, but I really love it in the background. The watercolor in the background is the Albert Dürer activated. I may have gone over it a little bit dry, but I don't see it, so I don't think so. But if I did, it's really minimal. And then I use Prismacolor over the top of some of it. Prismacolor for a lot of the elements. Watercolor on the floor. I did screw up this wood grain in the back. It came out absolutely awful. It was similar to this, but it was even more overpowering than the blue here. And I definitely went over it with the Artex acrylic paint markers, which I really like a lot more for painting than I do for blocking out the black lines. The soft tip is a benefit when you're actually painting with them. Not so much when you're as heavy-handed as I am in blacking out the lines. But otherwise, I just used some gel pen, mostly the metallics in the back, in addition to what I mentioned, which is the Jelly Roll Glaze around here and there. I used a little bit more of the Artex markers to lighten some of the lines. Again, not all of them, because I felt like it was getting overwhelming, and I just kind of stopped it. But I really like the way the page turned out. I like my apples, and I did mess up the smock because I wanted it to look like, you know, she's a painter and she does this a lot, and so I made it a very, very messy smock. But I like that as well. I think it came out kind of cool. So that is all I did in Menuet de Bonaire by Koko Ausa. Now this is a new book to me. This is Best of Pop Manga Coloring Book by Camilla Derico. So this goes for Teas and Lovella's hashtag August Color Your Hoard 2024. And I did this guy. And I absolutely love him. I mean, he is so cute. I mean, and I have said on multiple occasions that I don't love cutesy ootsy stuff generally, but I'm surprised sometimes with how much I enjoy them. And Spooky is one book that has like a lot of cutesy images to me. This book has some as well. Not all of them are this cute, but I really like this guy. I used the pan pastels for the background, which I'm kind of happy with the way it blended out. I used a yellow and a pink, and then it kind of got a little peachy in the middle. I used this really dark purple that I rarely use because it is so dark. It's a pan pastel as well. I don't get very much use out of that one at all. It really is dark. This is even lighter. You can see how dark it gets in one section. But I used a tissue to kind of brush off as much of it as I could before spraying it. And I just used some kind of clear, I think it's a fixative spray of some kind. I can't remember what brand it is, but yeah, I used a fixative spray over it, and then I colored. And I used Holbein Aqua, the light colors, because I don't think Prismacolor has a very good light aqua on its own. So I brought in a Holbein aqua, and the rest of it is all Prismacolor pencil, including these little bubbles. I was going to use a paint marker, and then I was too lazy to come upstairs and get the paint markers, so I just used pencil for that as well, and they're really easy. But I really like them, and I drew in the circles on him to kind of match the background a little bit. And that's all I did, but he was really, really fun. Oh, sorry, it's not written down, but I did use the Artex acrylic markers on some of the elements. It looks like almost all of them. Not the background, but on the little monster. But I think he came out really good. I really like how colorful he is. And I just really enjoyed this page. And I want to do another one in September, which is really surprising me. But I'm gonna give it a shot. So that is Best of Pop Manga by Camilla Derrico. It's also the first coloring in Colorful Time. Don't know what else this says, but I'm really disappointed in it, guys. I thought that this book, in looking at it, would be great for watercolor, like really some really gorgeous images, you know, big. And, you know, this would be great for watercolor to do this whole background. It's a really sketchy style that I thought fit with watercolor. And then I put watercolor to the paper, and the paper doesn't really like it. It ghosted all the way through on the back, so I stopped using the watercolor. And I didn't write this one down, so I don't know specifically what I used, so we're gonna kind of go through and guesstimate. But again, I mentioned I used watercolor in the background. It came really, really, really blotchy, as well as ghosting through. So I had to go over the whole thing with pencil. I had to use a lot of pencil. Then I tried doing watercolor in the background in this area here, and that's when I kind of stopped. I didn't continue it up or below. I really just started to realize that this watercolor wasn't really working on this paper. It absorbed it extremely quickly, which meant that it was going to be very blotchy. It did not sit on top of it while it absorbed slowly. It just sunk right in. And then I got thrown by that, and my coloring choice is off. This is, well, when I see it here in restaurants and stuff, these spoons are very often blue and like a bone color. And I started that and then realized it wasn't working with the sky. And then I threw in some other colors, and it's just, the whole thing was a disaster. So basically I used my Prismacolor pencils, I think, across most of this. I used the Artex paint markers. I used fine liners. I used gel pens. Yeah, I just am so unhappy with it, guys. I did use some of the Jelly Roll glaze on the birds, some metallics on the gems, because I just didn't want to invest any more time in this image. I just really was that disappointed in it, considering it is such a beautiful book and I had such high hopes, and now I don't know what to use in this book. I am going to try in the next page. I don't know which page I'm going to do yet, but I think I am going to give this satin glazing liquid a shot on this paper as well, to see if it will absorb differently and maybe not be as blotchy as it was. So this is Colorful Time. I don't know who this is by, guys. I tried translating it and I can't figure it out. There's so many names, I don't know who the illustrations are by. If anyone knows and wants to let me know, please do so on the bottom. So that is what I colored, my first image in Colorful Time. Okay, last but not least is Wildflower Folk from Christine Caron. And I just finished this a minute ago. And this is Troll Girl. I used watercolor paints for the background. I used my Albert Dürer activated for the rocks. I used alcohol ink for her shirt, face, and I don't know why that blue is showing through. I don't know what that is actually, because I didn't use paint on her face. So I don't know what that is. But everything else is Prismacolor pencils. So whatever I didn't paint, I painted the shirt, the background, and the rocks, is all Prismacolor pencils over alcohol ink. And I really like the way it came out, but honestly, I struggled with this page, and I don't know why. It's a gorgeous image. I really like the way I colored it. You know, as I was coloring it, I wasn't disappointed in it, but I really had to force myself to finish this. And I don't know if it was just the hair with like the sticks coming out, or you know what I did, but yeah, I really struggled with this one, and maybe it's just my mood, but I really had to force myself. So I'm happy it's done. I got another one done in my favorite book. It's not filling up by any means, but I do have several done. So I'm really happy about that. This is, you know, one of the handful of books that I would actually like to complete. Most of the others, if I complete them, great. If I don't, that's fine too. But this one I would love to see fully done, like the Lana Green Garden Lady, I would also like to see fully done, fully colored. So that's it for the month, guys. That's everything I colored in August 2024. For the most part, I really enjoyed it. As I said, it went really quickly. So I am surprised I got the 10 pages done that I did. We did move, Emma and I moved our buddy color to September, so we'll finish it and I'll show that to you then. That would have been my 11th, but not finished. So the video of my coloring plans should already have been up, so you'll see. I will try to link it somewhere on here so that if you want to, go look at it, please do have a look. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and I'd love to see you back. So if you want to hit that subscribe button, I'd appreciate that as well. So hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by. Take care. Bye, guys.